Hey everyone, thank you for attending the world premiere of Dashcam at Popcorn Frights 7th Annual Film Festival. Today we have writer-director Christian Nilsson and actor-producer Eric Tabach joining us for the premiere. Hey guys, how you
Hello,
doing?
how are
You doing all right?
Great.
So Eric, you're in LA right now. Christian, you're in New York right now. What's the weather like in both of those places?
LA is great. I don't know about New York. I was in New York last week. It was way too hot, but LA is some fabulous weather right now that I'm enjoying. It's nice and cool. Not too hot.
it's quite gray here in New York, but it's one of the coolest days we've had in a while, so I'm content.
So we're here in the summer in Florida, so obviously it's nice, brisk, and cool here. No humidity at all, but gotta love it, gotta love it. So Christian, over the past decade, we have seen a lot of various, I would say computer screen thrillers like Profile, Searching, Open Windows, which people don't bring up enough. What do you think it is about the format that makes it for a compelling mystery thriller?
Well, I think whenever we're trying to tell an engaging story, we want to put the audience right there as best we can. And I think that so much of our lives now are spent in front of screens, and so I think it's really a natural way to have an engaging story that we could all really relate to. I think there's also a it's similar to the found footage genre. It's easier to really sell a computer screen as far as like budgetary concerns. So I feel like when we're looking at smaller and smaller budget projects, I do think that the screen format makes it somewhat easier. That said, it's also incredibly difficult to make a screen look real. Like never in Dashcam are you actually looking at a computer screen. All of that is always created in post, and so because our eyes are so used to what a computer screen looks like, it is quite a lift to make sure that is you really sell that, and the audience never for a second thinks that they're not looking at their computer screen.
Right. Do you think it's also the intimate nature of the narrative that allows it to be more compelling, and also the viewer gets invested in the character's investigation? It's really close up. You're really doing the research with the character, which I think is one of the things that really makes the audience get into the film.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This is, for the most part, this is a one character, one location movie that takes place over the course of one evening. And all of those factors are already pretty intimate. And so by having the main relationship of the film be between Jake and his computer screen, the audience has a very similar relationship because they're also just looking at only Jake and the computer screen.
So Eric, my question for you is, I know you worked with Christian on the short film Unsubscribe. Did you have to go through a casting process for the role of Jake? Did Christian want you right from the beginning? How did that happen?
So we originally, I'm allowed to say this, right?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, we both wanted Charlie Tahan from Unsubscribe and Ozark, obviously, to play the character. That's kind of who Christian wrote the character for. And then he had a project that caused scheduling conflicts, and also it was good in the end because with such a small budget, it would have been a pretty grueling experience to be on set. I was like pretty much on set 24/7 and filming that. So after we weren't able to get Charlie, Christian kind of said, I would really be interested in you playing this role. And we thought about it and then kind of read through it and met a couple times, and then it worked out great. But it is tough for me. Like there was a moment where, because I was producing it and had already envisioned I had already seen the lines in a very specific way read by another actor that's very different. So there was like a slight adjustment for me internally where I was like, okay, I have to see myself in this role now and how I'm going to play it and not constantly compare myself to the way that I originally saw it. So it was an interesting thing to play around with, but then in the end, I had a really great time. And yeah, also had to learn how to act with since we did everything in post, the whole time I'm just acting with a blue screen, and that's it, just looking at nothing. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Like, even though Eric wasn't the initial Jake that we had envisioned for it, he really made it his own and delivered something that I was really blown away by. When we were writing this with Charlie Tahan in mind, it was a bit more of a. I imagined Jake to be a little bit more of like a slimy, seedy guy that didn't really have the best intentions, and that he was trying to screw over his boss a little bit. Where I think Eric has such an honest likability that I think from the get-go we had to shift the character as a whole. But I think it turned out incredibly well, and I really love what Eric did with it.
Well, one of the reasons I think it worked so well is Jake is continually questioning his decisions in this. What is the right thing to do? And I think that's what makes it also a better film. Christian, being a filmmaker in today's age, you're obviously have to be tech savvy, very tech savvy. But Eric, going into the film, were you very computer literate, very tech savvy, like almost like to the level of Jake was, or were you?
Yeah, so that's why I was lucky, because I edit. So when Christian and I both worked at BuzzFeed, I learned how to edit and was producing. We were like, making everything from scratch ourselves. So editing was something I had ingrained in my brain. So when we were, when Christian was describing the timeline to me, or exactly what I was seeing and where I was dragging and how I was editing, it was really easy for me to completely envision the screen and the layout and know exactly what I was doing there. So luckily, I knew how to edit and knew exactly what I was doing there. I can't imagine what it would have been like for a person that doesn't edit to like imagine this screen. They probably would have had to play with it for a couple of weeks to kind of figure out all the buttons and everything that we're doing. And because editing is such an important, when I watch the film, it feels like to me, it feels like most people that watch the film will feel like they're editing this movie, and Christian did a great job with breaking down editing to such to the basics, so that anyone watching it will be able to follow it. Because usually editing is not very easy to follow if you're just sitting and watching an editor work. But yeah, luckily I had that experience.
A fun little piece of IMDb trivia is that the trailer of the film is actually edited by Eric.
Oh yeah.
So obviously over the past 2 years have been very difficult for everyone in the world, in every industry, the entertainment industry, filmmaking industry, definitely. Was your film shot during the pandemic? And if so, what were the challenges you faced? Obviously you had a much smaller cast than other, let's say a TV show or anything else, but you still had a crew of some size. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, so Eric and I are fortunate that we actually made two films during the pandemic. The first, Unsubscribe, that you mentioned earlier, which was made for a box office stunt. We were able to get that short film, which cost $0 and was literally shot over Zoom, and we were able to get it to be the #1 movie in the U.S. box office. And then we were able to make Dashcam, and both stories were written to be shot in isolation with small crews. Most of Dashcam takes place in one physical location, so it was written to be that way. So yeah, it was always a challenge, but it was always written so that we were able to address those challenges head on. We were able to get a really great cast of people, and none of them actually ever had to be on set. We were able to work with all of them remotely due to the nature of the project. You never see another character on scene with Jake. And a part of that was because of SAG rules. We couldn't literally have two SAG actors on set at the same time without testing all of them for every day. So there were definitely issues that we had to work around. We shot it incredibly quickly. It was shot all during overnights in the East Village of New York City. But yeah, I mean, I think Eric had to deal with the most grueling aspects of it, because not only was he shooting pretty much every single day for pretty full long hours, he also was living on set when we weren't filming. So when we would wrap and go home, he would be amongst all the equipment or like the light rigs above him, and you have to try to sleep in that bed that you see in the film.
Well, you were using the condo to shoot, the apartment to shoot. Might as well have, like, sleep there as well.
Yeah, when you could use your set as crew housing, it's always ideal.
So not only did you film during the pandemic, you actually wrote the whole film during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was we what is it right now? It's so yeah, we were shooting it this time last year, and we had a pretty quick writing process for it. We also didn't know what the world looked like when we were doing this. We didn't even know if what we were writing could be shot, and then the film we were making, would it still be somewhat relevant when it came out? We never bring up the pandemic during it, but it's definitely, I would say, maybe pandemic adjacent. Of he's wearing a mask, he's uncomfortable going outside. There's references to things like school being done remotely and people being uncomfortable with large gatherings, but it's never actually called out because we didn't know the world in which the film would be released into.
Right. And my other question for you is, Dashcam is obviously a very politically driven film. It seems to mirror reality in a scary way. Was there a particular incident in recent events that motivated you to write the screenplay?
I mean, I think that there were a lot of shared experiences we all had over the last 18 months that inspired the idea of this. The idea of like not being able to always trust the narrative that we're being told about police recordings was definitely one of those. I didn't want to touch any sort of Black Lives Matter aspect of that, as that is not a story that I feel like I'm suited to tell. But I did feel that we could tell a story about feeling like you're being deceived, or that you're being told a narrative that isn't accurate. And so yeah, that like all those things are definitely in there. The pandemic, obviously, but even more than that, I would say the sense of isolation that we were all feeling, and how I know individuals that were similar to Jake, and that they were riding out the pandemic, working from home, and how isolating and lonely that must be.
So Eric and Christian, may I ask you, were two of your favorite experiences working on this film? Even though it was a quick shoot, you're dealing with the pandemic, was there anything that stood out that you guys just really remember of thinking, this is pretty awesome?
Man, the whole experience, it's such a to me, it all comes in like one chunk. So I'm trying to pick out one specific memory that was great. I think, Christian, do you have one? Or I'm gonna go for it if you don't, but I would like to take.
I have a corny one that I'll end it with. Oh no, we lost him.
No,
he'll jump back. I'll start while he's not here, because I don't have to give him a compliment to his face. I love Eric. We have a working relationship that goes back to us both working at BuzzFeed together.
Right.
And us doing Unsubscribe was really a passion project for both of us, because we had other projects we were working on that also fell victim to the pandemic. He had a television series that he was working on, and I had a feature that we had just casted and raised like $1.3 million for it, and that fell apart. So the experience of doing Unsubscribe was really just he and I, and our love for film and for storytelling. And to me, the highlight of making Dashcam is doing this alongside him. He, like you said, he was not the person we initially meant to play Jake, but I think it was slightly fortuitous that he did play Jake. And I think that it really was an incredible experience for both of us, and one that we are excited to take into the next film that we work on.
Also, the film doesn't have a very upbeat ending. Was that the original ending you had always wanted, or did you have other ideas to go with? Or
yeah, I mean, I think you were mentioning Scream movies before. I think what was nice about us breaking out of the screen a little bit was that we could have a third act in which the main character leaves. And I feel like that's always the problem with these with screen films is that there's always this action of we want a new world and we want things to move forward in a new way, and it's hard when everything's contained in a screen. So I wanted Jake to be able to leave. If we had a little bit more, a few more resources, and if the city wasn't as locked down as it was, I would have loved to have had another scene or more afterwards of Jake being tracked by the person that is following him. But at the same time, like I think about the movies like Blow Up or Blowout, The Conversation, Clute, like those real, like those thrillers that really inspired me to write Dashcam. They all have a similar ending of it didn't really work out. I think ours was a little bit more clearer as how it didn't work out. Like I think back to the conversation with it ending with another character whose last name is Cal, or Call. And it ends with him just like trying to find where in his apartment there's a bug place, and he's just playing a saxophone. It's a similar like non-concrete ending. And so in writing this, I did want to have something similar of if the theme of this film is maybe that the government is watching and the government's is going to prevail. I wanted that to work. I wanted that to also ring true at the end of this film, of that as soon as he gets it, like there's that one shot of George Washington looking at him as he's walking through the park. I always did want that to be the ending. I thought I wanted it to not work out. And the second it was able to be confirmed, it doesn't work out for him.
And one of the things, we love the De Palma classic. So that, and Dashcam actually reminded us of a lot of it while we were watching it. It's actually kind of funny that Eric kind of just suddenly vanished from the scene. Kind of plays in well with the film.
There he is.
Hey,
there he is.
You vanished, Eric. Oh, connecting the audio.
So Eric, I'll fill you in. My highlight, if you can hear me, was that I was able to do this with you as we had such a long, tumultuous time getting our own projects greenlit and then unsubscribe and Dashcam. So you were the highlight to me. No pressure as you give your answer.
My highlight was me doing it with me. No, I think it's weird. The moment that keeps coming into my head that I remember most is it was like one of the first days that we started shooting. We went to Christian and I, right before the shoot, we went to Veselka, which is like a Russian restaurant right near where we were shooting. And we just sat outside with the script and like ate and broke down the scenes that we were going to shoot. And we talked through it and kind of talked about the character. And that was really cool for me as well, because it was like, wow, Christian and I, we met at BuzzFeed years ago and we kept talking about making movies. And now we're sitting at this, outdoor restaurant in New York City, eating some borscht and talking about a script that we're going to actually go and film. So that was like a really surreal, beautiful moment that I keep remembering. So a similar answer, just the how cool and serendipitous it is that Christian and I came back together and made a film.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. My final question for you is, can you guys tell us a little bit about the film's release plan? Has anything been announced? When can the rest of the audiences around the nation or around the world see Dashcam?
Yeah, so I'm fuzzy on some of these details, but I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty positive I can say that it will be released October 19th. We have a distributor attached already, and it should be available for rental or purchase on most platforms on October 19th, which is perfect for the film taking place during Halloween. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is from there, but hopefully people will see it.
Well, we want to thank Christian and Eric for joining us for the post-screening Q&A for Dashcam. Thank you guys so much for attending the world premiere. Thank you for taking part in the Q&A, and wish you the best of luck with the film's release.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to play with you guys.
All right.